Afternoon all, hope you're well. Welcome back to the final whistle for another stream on the channel and a big update then regarding the future of Danny Rohl at Sheffield Wednesday and Leicester City. Could he be on his way to Filbert way? What do we reckon? Guys, always get involved. It's bloody hot, isn't it? So I'm having to just bloody just while the heat in this bloody room, to be honest. But yeah, get involved. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you haven't subscribed already, please get down and do so. As Leicester hold Danny Rohl compensation talks with Sheffield Wednesday, then it's being reported today. Could Danny Rohl be on his way to Filbert Way this week? Who knows what Leicester City have got in mind here, you know. £1 million is reported to be the compensation fee for Danny Rohl, as Leicester seem to be big admirers of him. Suits the style of football. And could Leicester City be having him roll into Seagrave at some point to take the job? But yeah, afternoon, Reese. Hope you're good, mate. Terry, how are we? Mr. Maganon, how are we, mate? Hope you're well. Afternoon, Jackie. Do you know what? It's bloody hot, mate. It is. I was going to put a fan on. I don't know if you can bloody hear that. Let me know if you can hear the fan, by the way. Afternoon, Joe. You well, buddy? So it moves on to Danny Rohl then. Well, you've got to say it rolls on to Danny Rohl. Hot stuff, Jack, mate. Honestly, when them German sausage rolls come out the oven, they're hot and ready to eat, mate. I'm telling you. Canal, how are we, mate? Hope we get it right this time. Do you know what, Francis? That's what it is, mate. We've got to get the appointment right. Danny Rohl would be a good appointment. Hopefully, Leicester can get the deal done. Then we'll be on a roll. Well, we could be on a roll in the Championship. I mean, we take on Danny Rohl's. Well, I'm bloody speaking in bloody past tense. I can't Sheffield Wednesday's manager at the minute, but no, we take on Danny Rohl's current club, Sheffield Wednesday, first game of the season, and it's a real mess at Hillsborough, isn't it? Regarding Chanziri today, he's not even paid the players again. Players are still missing payments from May and all that. It's an absolute mess, isn't it, Hillsborough? And you never wished it on any club, to be honest. And it's just disgusting, isn't it, of how Sheffield Wednesday are being treated at the minute there. And hopefully things get better with Sheffield Wednesday. And hopefully this situation with Chanziri and that gets sorted, because, yeah, no club should be in any mess like that. You look at what happened to Reading, Berry and teams like that regarding ownership and that. It's just bang out of order, to be honest. Could he be there for Saturday? Could he be watching the game on Saturday? I hope so, Canal. Either that or no one wants our players. Are Leicester good for PSR at the club? Haven't sold anyone for the current accounting period. Well, obviously last season we had to sell Keenan Dewsbury Hall, didn't we, to Chelsea? What was it, about £30 million, 35 million in the end? And this season, we haven't been having to do that at all. So could PSR be okay for this year? It's a bit one of them. Rohl is leaving Sheffield Wednesday. It very much looks like he is leaving Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read through it in a minute. I'm going to go for the article and still feel like we need more friendlies. Do you know what, Dan? We need about 5 or 6 new friendlies. Let's be honest. We've got 3 already. We need 3 more, 2, maybe 3, and I'd be happy with it. But I don't know what they've got planned for Austria. I really don't. I don't know if they'll take on any Bundesliga sides or Austrian league sides. I'm not sure what Leicester City have got planned. I don't even think they know what they're doing themselves, if I'm honest. But yeah, it seems very much up in the air. You've got a good manager on your hands as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Tactically, he's brilliant. I was reading something, Liam, about Danny Rohl. Let me read a few things out. A good friend of mine put an analyst thing together. Big up. He'll know who he is. So let me have a look. So right. So Danny Rohl might only be 36, but his early CV is nothing short of elite. He's worked alongside Hansi Flick with Germany and Bayern, with Ralf Hasenhüttl at Southampton, and with Julian Nagelsmann at Leipzig. He's learned from the best, and now he's showing he's ready to lead. Danny Rohl has a high ceiling, doesn't he? He's 36, still developing, and he's a very much a hungry person to succeed. He's an analyst. He analyzes everything and anything. These young managers are very good to be poached, aren't they? Because they understand now the modern way of thinking. Guardiola analyzes everything. Kieran McKenna, Will Still, they analyze everything quite well, and that shows that you're hungry to succeed and want to learn a lot more in the game. If we do get Rohl, is there any players you'd like to see bring with him? Not really. I don't think it's ideal for us, to be honest. No disrespect to Sheffield Wednesday at all, but the only one I'd really take at Leicester is a coach. Chris Powell. Leicester City have struggled to defend. Chris Powell was a defender in his day, and that guy, already well known at Leicester City, Chris Powell, from his time here, where he spent a year as a player, and then he spent time with Nigel Pearson as a coach. So Chris Powell is very good defensively knowledgeable. So hopefully he can pass that on to the defenders. And he's obviously Danny Rohl's assistant at Sheffield Wednesday at this minute in time, categorically speaking. Have Sheffield Wednesday made any statements yet? Well, I think Chanzeri has. Do you think we'll get someone in to replace Vardy? Well, Francis, that's the big question, isn't it? Who replaces Jamie Vardy? See, I would like Josh Sargent from Norwich. I think he would be quite good. He's going to cost us probably about £15 million, but who knows? Let me have a look. Very much so. He's Premier League bound no matter what. Do you know what? Like I say, he's got a high ceiling, Danny Rohl, and he deserves to manage at the highest level. And obviously, we're not the greatest of team with PSR problems and that, but we're in a little pickle ourselves, I'll be honest. And we've got to be honest from the start with him and say, you know what, this is the situation. We do want you. This is what we'll pay. And maybe them conversations have been had. We don't know. Wolfsburg was interested. Leipzig were interested. Was they put off by compensation, or was it the fact that maybe someone's offered more money, or Middlesbrough, another one? Rob Edwards, Steve Cooper, Danny Rohl was the ones that was believed to be in talks with Danny Rohl. Southampton was obviously put off by the wage compensation package. Could Leicester have had talks with Danny Rohl previously? Who knows? There's been nothing to say that they have, but you know how football works these days when it comes to them type of things. If he goes to you guys, he'll definitely bring Sasha Lenze with him. Who's that, by the way? What position does he play, Liam? If we get Rohl, we should start setting up his replacement immediately, successfully. People, exactly. Leicester City, if they bring in Danny Rohl, they've got to have a backup for when if Danny Rohl does leave the football club. Rudkin and Top promising him a fortune. This don't end well. Do you know what, Tony? I'm in agreement with you, mate, with that. You look at Van Nistelrooy. He got promised funds. He got promised he would have money to spend. He'd probably bring in 3-4 players in January. Then all of a sudden, we only bring in Koulibaly, and that's it for like £2 million. And you're thinking, what? Like, Sheffield Wednesday's mass exits happening. Yeah, it is. Do you know what? It's shocking to see what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday. Unpaid players, unpaid staff. It is a mess. It really is a mess. It makes you even think they're even going to have a team prepared to even play Leicester. They've got a transfer embargo for free transfer windows. Do you get what I mean? So they can't sign any players for like free transfer windows. Barry Bannon incoming, Jesus Christ. He's got the role of performance manager and has worked at Man United before. It is a disgrace. It is. No club should ever be put in this situation. Not at all. No club should ever be put in this situation, if I'm honest with you. Guys, as always, hit the like on the stream if you enjoy the stream. Get involved as always. Get your comments in. Let me know what you think on everything we do discuss. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the Final Whistle. Please get down and do so. It'd help me out massively. If you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, it'd be great to hear what you guys have got to say regarding Danny Rohl, what's happening at Sheffield Wednesday at this minute in time, and everything like that, and what he could offer to Leicester City if Leicester City are to appoint him. So, Wednesday are a great club. They need a decent owner. I think Chanziri's been there 10 years. Is it 10 years? If the players don't get paid today, they can hand in their notice. I believe Danny Rohl could leave on a free though, couldn't he, Liam? If he's not been paid, because he obviously hasn't turned up to training, has he, Danny Rohl? So it's an interesting one. Danny Rohl would be Leicester's first German manager, I believe. First one. Afternoon, Joe, mate. How are we? Just wanted to say Danny Rohl has been my first choice for a while. If we can get this over the line, I would be more than happy. Exactly. Danny Rohl would be cheaper. Very much cheaper. £1 million. I mean, we signed Jamie Vardy for £1 million. Now, look how that worked out. One of the greatest ever players ever. Do you know what I mean? Danny Rohl could turn into one of the greatest ever Leicester City managers ever. You know, it could work. Danny Rohl is my ideal choice. I think we went for Sean Dyche. He would bring stability, strong character, strong-minded, and Sean Dyche would probably want to be the highest paid manager in the Championship if we are to bring him in. It cost us a bit of cash, wouldn't it? He was assistant when you beat us like 9-0. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? He was good under Ralph Hasenhüttl, though. Learned quite a lot about himself and that. Jack, would you take Callum Doyle for £12 million? Do you know what? I wouldn't say no to Callum Doyle. I would sign him, personally. I think he's probably better than Victor Christensen, if I'm honest with you. I think he'd be better. We know how good he was in the Championship before he got injured with Leicester. Big potential there, Callum Doyle. Norwich fans was very much happy to keep him last year. So it shows that 2 months of non-paid players can request his contract. If there is a mass exit at Sheffield Wednesday, they can have to play the youth team against us. 3 points in the bag. Second German recruitment. Back in the day, they had a German club. Really? Need Dyche after Cooper. Not now. I also think he gets the fans back on side slightly if we're making this appointment. Rather take from West Brom than Doyle. That's an interesting one, isn't it, Armchair? What is he like as a player, though? What is he like as a player? Do you know too much about him? Because I'm not really sure, mate. Give me roll. I need it, mate. I need a German sausage roll, mate. You know what I'm saying? Armchair, mate. He's not my best friend, by the way. We're not going to bloody make best buddies, even if he does come to Leicester. So, Roll's been backed 5-4. Crazy stuff. Stick 400 quid on it, you get 500 back. It's crazy. Is he the favourite now? Has he moved up in the betting, Danny Rohl? I'm just trying to work it out, mate. I'm just trying to work it out myself. Until the elephants in the room, aka Rookie Leeds Club, will not be stable. Dyche is even money. Yeah, you'd think that he is. I mean, the Sun have obviously reported that Leicester have had talks. Alex Crook said they haven't. John Percy said they haven't. Liverpool Echo said he ain't even interested in Leicester City. Sky Sports say otherwise. Different people are saying different things. There's just no concrete interest. You get what I mean? There's nothing to say what is happening at Leicester City regarding Sean Dyche. Let me have a look at Sky Bet, actually. I'm not a betting man, by the way, but I just want to have a look, see what's what. Next Leicester City manager. Danny Rohl, 5-4. Sean Dyche, 1-1. I remember, do you remember when Chelsea wanted Enzo Maresca? Was it De Zerbi was ahead of Enzo at that point? And Thomas Frank? He was never favourite, ever. And then all of a sudden, he then became favourite Enzo for Chelsea because De Zerbi went to... Did he get to Marseille, did he, in the end? And Thomas Frank said he's staying at Brentford. Solid defender. Pundits rate him Premier League class. Yeah. Right, so Danny Rohl, when he took over Sheffield Wednesday in October 2023, they were rock bottom of the Championship with just 3 points from 11 games, by the way. Most had written them off. He completely transformed the side, installing belief, identity and intensity, and kept them up with a game to spare. They did pull off one of the Championship great escapes. It will be the best £1 million spent since buying Jamie Vardy. Hey, Jamie Vardy is also a Sheffield Wednesday fan, by the way. I'm sure Sheffield Wednesday fans would have loved Jamie Vardy at Sheffield Wednesday. In the 24-25 season, Danny Rohl didn't just keep Sheffield Wednesday afloat, he evaluated them. Manager of the month in December after 11 points from 7 games. He led the Owls to a comfortable mid-table finish, 12th. 58 points, by the way. 58 points last season. What makes Danny Rohl's achievement even more impressive is how he's done it at Sheffield Wednesday, been in the chaos on and off the pitch. A toxic owner under Dijfon Chanzera, players and staff going unpaid, transfer restrictions and minimal investment. Did you see Keith Andrew once Rohl as assistant to join him at Brentford? Didn't he want Pedersen as well, though, Armchair? Didn't he want Pedersen? The current one at Sheffield Wednesday, who's obviously in the backroom staff with Danny Rohl, isn't he? Sheffield Wednesday currently. Home record was abysmal last season. Away record, they were 4th or 5th, but 23rd at home. I believe Sheffield Wednesday created a lot of chances last season, but didn't score. Bloody hell. Why would Rohl leave one toxic environment just to join another? Even with key players' exits, Leicester are in a stronger position than Wednesday. Better infrastructure, bigger budget, high quality players. Rohl won't be a firefighter, it'd be a building project. Rohl's style is intense, modern and fearless. He favours a high press, fast transition and a compact defensive shape. Out of possession, his teams are aggressive and organised in possession. They build patiently but with the purpose. Vertical, brave and energetic. I mean, he's also one that can build with the fans. He can build that real culture and that with the fans, that relationship. He can build that disconnect. One of Rohl's biggest strengths is adaptability. He isn't wedded to one formation or rigid philosophy, whether it's back 4 or back 5, high press or mid block. He tweaks shape and strategy based on opposition. I think Rohl is a brilliant fit. He's one candidate who could truly unite the fan base. But others later movement times. Rohl is the middle ground. His teams can build from the back when needed, but they also intense, physical, and full of energy. Tactically smart, emotionally tuned in, and most importantly, his players run for the shirt, which is what you want to see. Commitment. Leicester need a reset. Rohl could be exactly that. Interesting. That's from one of my mates who's obviously put a report together. Need to move fast to get Rohl in his team. Does the Wednesday embargo entice Vardy to go in to help as a free agent? I don't even think Vardy can bloody go there, to be honest, due to how much he's going to cost. I mean, at Leicester, what was he on, like 140 grand a week? To be honest, talking about Jamie Vardy, it's his last day as a Leicester City player today, by the way. Any news on Connor Cody going or having talks about it? Well, according to Jermaine Defoe, he very much looks like he could be going to Ibrox, as what I was reading earlier on one of the Leicester City pages. If Rohl becomes the new manager of Leicester City, could bring in Josh Windass as Jamie Vardy's replacement and the Foxy attack. Probably scored more goals than Daka. Rohl will bring the young players on. Leicester are in need of a major lift. At present, Danny Rohl will bring that. Danny Rohl will bring stability. He's very charismatic. He's one that the players would very much get on board with. When I spoke to a Sheffield Wednesday channel yesterday, a good podcast, by the way, the Wednesday Week, they analysed Danny Rohl quite well. But they said he is destined for the top. He has got a high ceiling. But he's one that the players built a formidable relationship with at Sheffield Wednesday. He always had time for the fans after games. He'd go around and clap them on his own. He'd even give them the good fist pump, even when they were winning games. And he were always a good figure, you know. Most Sheffield Wednesday fans would respect him. He has built something there with the lack of tools that he has got to build with. And he had to build very well. Vardy choosing between Rangers and Leeds this week. Really? Wow. Vardy at Leeds. Yeah, I don't think he'd go there due to the Sheffield Wednesday links and that, would he? Can't see Rohl wanting to be assistant at Brentford, exactly. New shirt date. No clue. I have no clue in what that is going to be. I think Saturday they play Peterborough, don't they? First pre-season game of the campaign. And they probably will wear the new shirt. Today they'll probably get a photo shoot done for the new shirt and all that home. I saw that jacket. Was very interesting. Yeah. Pedersen's one that they're looking at, isn't it? But Sheffield Wednesday fans, Sheffield Wednesday is a club, sorry. They want to replace Danny Rohl with, is it Henrik Pedersen? I believe that's what his name is. Kaminski to Charlton for £1 million with Mr. Good One there. Is he the Luton goalkeeper, Kaminski? Was he the one that Steve Cooper was interested in last summer? I know we got linked with a goalkeeper last summer, Kaminski. Leeds, nah. Yeah, I don't see that happening either. I don't even see that happening. Danny Rohl looks to be leaving Sheffield Wednesday with a rumour that he's told the players that he's on his way out. It's a no-brainer of an appointment for Leicester. Mads is at Seagrave this morning. A move away before the start of the new accounts period is ruled out. So Mads Hermansen is not leaving Leicester before the new accounting period. So Leicester City have not sold a player before the new accounting period. Does that kind of say we're okay with finances, with PSR and that? His sale or any sale before the start of July would fall into 24-25 financial year. El Khanouch, Fast, Vestergaard, and Ndidi not due back yet. So they're not due back yet. Obviously, Bayern Leverkusen were interested in Belal El Khanouch. They're signing a centre attacking mid, aren't they, at the minute? So does that kind of say that they're going to be moving on from Belal? Belal would take the Championship up next season. If we can keep him, then I think it'd be great. But who knows? Who knows what I've got to see? He has been linked with Arsenal, hasn't he? I don't know what the... there's going to be no players out the door. This could mean we're in a good place regarding PSR. My opinion is proven is that they don't know what they're doing. Barnes, Enzo, Jude Bill were sold within the PSR period. They declared themselves to be fine. Then later we found out they missed a threshold. 17 million overspent. Jesus Christ. I'll get Reece in when he ain't driving. I don't know if he'll give me the thumbs up when he is. 5 minutes, cool. Bilal, make him captain. Will the food review continue next season? Yeah, potentially. It might be a German sausage roll to kick the season off. What do you reckon? Should we have a German sausage roll each? Should we do a stream together and have a German sausage roll each when bloody Danny Rohl gets appointed? Should we try and get Leicester City to get one ready for the weekend if we do appoint him? How about that? Watched a programme yesterday that says we could have a points deduction for the next 3 seasons. When I was talking to Rob Tanner on the stream a couple of weeks back, he was on about... what was he on about? He was on about... they're on about being quite thingy with Leicester, aren't they? It's quite positional with Leicester regarding PSR. Significant is what he used, the word significant. Leicester could very much appeal that, though. They can appeal the PSR process and all that, but let's have a look what the media's had to say then regarding Danny Rohl today. This is from the Sheffield Star, Joe Cram, by the way. Players are due back to Millward as preparations for the 25-26 season continues. But it's understood that Danny Rohl's exit is close to being finalised. And with question marks over the readiness of the facilities, the nature of today's work is yet unknown. Henrik Pedersen has been tipped as Danny Rohl's replacement if and when he moves on. So that is what the Sheffield Star have said. Joe Cram, by the way, good reporter for Sheffield Wednesday. Danny Cobb. They might as well bloody call him that, innit? Danny Cobb. Danny Cobb. I mean, Danny Ward. Did anyone read that yesterday regarding Danny Ward being a number 2 at Wrexham? I thought he'd leave and go and be number 1 if he were that obsessive at playing number 1 at Leicester. Kieran Maguire has said sales can be put into last year's balance sheet if they can prove a conversation has taken place. I think it's up to the 7th of July. Interesting. I can't wait for the kebabs in Charlton. Hey, it's one of them things. Steve, if you want to come on and have a chat, mate, regarding Danny Rohl, feel free, fella. I'll send the link out to you, mate. Just click the link, and we'll have a chat as we do talk about Danny Rohl and what he could bring to Leicester. 89 games, I believe he's had as manager, Danny Rohl. He's won 34, and what's he lost? 36. So, and then he's obviously drawn the rest. So that works out to be about 19 draws. Thoughts on Steph, mate? That is fantastic. Stefan Mabedida is looking sharp going into pre-season. New haircut, the dress sense and everything. And Mabedida is just fantastic, isn't it? He's a vibe, isn't he, Steffi? He is a vibe. I'd love to personally keep him at Leicester City for next season. Him and Fatawu, are going to get on very well, aren't they? Ahead of the Championship again. I think Atalanta are looking at replacing Lookman, though, aren't they? I know Lookman's had quite a bit of interest, hasn't he, from other clubs. They're looking for a winger to replace. There was one today about Real Betis looking at Wilfred Ndidi, but obviously they're saying that Everton, Man United are all interested in Wilfred Ndidi. Reece, have you turned your camera like that way, or which way are you going with it? That's better. Right, let's get Reece in. Reece, how are we?
All right, mate. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm nice and hot. I'm building a bloody tank, mate. I'm just sat here. I might have to get the sun lotion out at one point, so I might get a bit crisp. But Reece, so the news is today then. Let me have a look. So Sheffield Wednesday Star, well, I call it Sheffield Wednesday Star, Sheffield Star. They're saying Danny Rohl is close to leaving. They've not said how he's going to leave. £1 million compensation is the word around Sheffield at the minute. That's how much it is to pay. They've not said whether it's going to be him resigning, sacked. Someone's going to pay a compensation. Today in the the Mirror Sport, they're saying that Danny Rohl hadn't returned to training at the club and has spoken to his exit with the senior players at the club. Leicester have held talks with Sheffield Wednesday over a compensation package for Danny Rohl. Where's he gone? There's me talking to myself. Bloody hell. But yeah, Danny Rohl compensation package has been spoke about with Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday regarding the 36-year-old. £1 million is the compensation figure. The Foxes, where is it? Right, there we go. Right, so Reece, the Foxes started company with Ruud van Nistelrooy on Friday, have held talks with Sheffield Wednesday over a compensation package for Danny Rohl. He is also of interest from Brentford as an assistant to Keith Andrews. Obviously, they're after Pedersen as well. Thoughts, Rohl has been widely praised for stabilising Sheffield Wednesday under the chaotic ownership of Delphine Chanzeri and helped the club to finish 12th last season. He is questioned by players about why he'd not organised anything for the forthcoming campaign, to which Danny Rohl insisted he'd done his best. Danny Rohl's compensation fee is believed to be £1 million. They've not said how he's leaving Sheffield Wednesday, but the Mirror now have said that Leicester have spoken to Sheffield Wednesday regarding the figure. Let me just stick my charger in. There we go. But yeah, the figure's £1 million. Leicester have discussed with Sheffield Wednesday there. The deal for Danny Rohl to leave Sheffield Wednesday is close to being finalised. What do you make of that? What do you make of today's update on Danny Rohl?
I think it'd be the choice I would go with out of him and Sean Dyche. You've got all this talk about Sean Dyche, he can stabilise clubs and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But Danny Rohl's got a proven track record with Sheffield Wednesday that he can do the same thing. And they're in a much worse position than what we are with their owner and what's going on there. It's an absolute shambles what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday. But I think as an all-round package, he's the perfect appointment. He plays good attacking football. He seems to have a good voice in the dressing room. He seems to get his point across. He turns bad players into all right players, what he's done at Sheffield Wednesday, because obviously they've got a poor squad. And what he's managed to do there is quite quite remarkable, to be fair. And I know that he had them in the playoffs at one point, but obviously they fell off a little bit.
Yeah.
I was listening to your stream yesterday with that Sheffield Wednesday fan, and
Yeah.
he made a point about him. He can be a bit of a Mardy arse. Well, I'm not being funny with the situation that he's got going on there, and he's
Yeah.
restricted. I'm sure everyone else would be a bit of a Mardy arse as well. So I'm not really going to use that against him when he comes here. I'll see it. I'll judge that for myself. But I think in terms of the all-round package, good attacking football, he'll have better players to work with, and that's a fact.
The facility.
Stabilising the club, and I think as a long-term appointment, it could work, because I do think he's got Premier League potential in him as well.
What is your initial thoughts? I mean, you talk about stability. Sheffield Wednesday fan who I spoke to yesterday, he said that he's very good with the fans. He's very understanding. He can build that connection back. Obviously, Leicester's sort of between the fans and the club at the minute. It's a bit broken. The relationship's broken down. And when Enzo were here, he had to come in and build that back up again. What's your initial thoughts on that? Do you think he can be one of them who can be a face of a football club and can say, you know what, we can build a relationship between the club again with the fans? And he is one that's very much goes to community meetings, fans forums and all that. He likes to listen to what fans have to say. And he seems very committed in that way.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Cooper tried that when he first came in. Obviously, he held a Q&A, and I was there. And I like how he spoke, but I just think a lot of the fans made the mind up with him, with obviously being a former Nottingham Forest person as well. Yeah. But I think that's what we need, someone to unite the fans together, because there's too much arguing going on. You know, King Power in, King Power out. It's quite split, and I don't like that. As a football fan, I've been going for 23 years. Yeah. I don't want to see that. I want to see the fans unite through good and through bad. But no, I think that would be a perfect person for him to come in and unite the fans. Like I said, Enzo did a good job of it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is what we need as a fan base, someone we can get on board with, someone we can back, and through the good and the bad with him, and not just get on his back straight away. We need to give him time, because, we're going through managers like we're going through, like food and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're going through a lot of we're going to turn into Watford as
I think this would be a sixth manager, by the way. You've had Brendan Rodgers, Dean Smith, Enzo, Steve Cooper, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then you'll have Danny Rohl. Well, potentially Danny Rohl.
Yeah, I don't like that. I really don't like that. Going from one manager to another. What's that, mate?
It looks like about 6 managers in 2 years.
Yeah, that's poor, and that's unsustainable for me. We need to have a long term. We need to have someone we can rely on and say, right, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. Blah blah blah. And I keep having debates with Uncle Clibber about this. You can't plan long term. You can't plan long term in football and all of this. But I don't believe it. You look at the likes of Fulham. You look at Bournemouth. You look at Brentford, they've done exactly the same thing in these certain situations. So I don't see why we can't go down that same path once we get this PSR thing off our backs.
Well, Steve, we talk about PSR. Obviously, Leicester will not be selling any players before July the 1st. Obviously, last season we had to sell Harvey Barnes as well. Enzo Maresca obviously took to Chelsea, and that went in with PSR. But talk to me about PSR. I mean, Leicester are in a bit of a pickle, aren't they? They don't know what's happening and what's next for the club. But what's your initial feeling on that one with not having to sell players? Do you kind of think they're in a sort of better sort of frame mind in behind the scenes to get it sorted?
In all honesty, it's very hard to tell, isn't it? If you go by what the Premier League said in this season, that no clubs had failed PSR in that accounting period. So you'd like to think that maybe they've sorted it out and we're okay going to this period.
Yeah.
If they're not going to sell anybody, or as I said in the chat, Kieran Maguire said that as long as they can prove intent and a conversation has taken place with the selling and the buying club, you can move those sales into this year's balance sheet rather than next year's balance sheet. So if Hermansen goes on Wednesday or Thursday, they might be able to push that into this year's still, and it'll be okay. But in all honesty, I don't know with Leicester. That's the main issue, isn't it? You don't know how it's going to fall. Yeah, we could be great. It could be like, yeah, no, we're under. But I would say the only thing that's slightly worrying is that if they've sacked Rude and they're pushing the accounts to next. Well, so I heard. Well, the Big Swan Leicester boys said that they'd heard that the reason why he was sacked on the 27th is because payroll for the 1st of July was on that Thursday, so they're officially paying him up to 1st of July, but they could sack him earlier because it doesn't really matter. So if that is the case and they're struggling over sort of 4 or 5 million, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a significant amount of money to a football club, is it really? So we might be right on the edge. And I guess we'll see as of the accounts being published, which is meant to be tonight, but let's be honest, it's Leicester. It could be next week, could be the week after. You never know. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My wife says to me sometimes, like, you take it very seriously, this football situation, and I'm like, yeah, because it's the only thing I can complain about. Most of my life is going okay, really.
Yeah.
But, like, it's this year has just been so shit. So bad. It's really sad.
Steve, talking about the second tier podcast, they did have Kieran Maguire on, didn't they? Like you said, he said he was surprised players aren't getting sold before the 30th of June.
I wonder if it's because there aren't any willing buyers at the moment. Maybe they're waiting to see but maybe most clubs are waiting to see what their accounting period's going to be like, and then you'll see more movement sort of July onwards. But then there was some movement in that weird weeks-long transfer window before the Club World Cup started, where there was some players moving around. But yeah, maybe everyone's waiting to see where everything falls into place, and then they'll start buying. But in all honesty, as long as we get rid of some of the dross at the club, even if it's 3 or 4 of the players, I'm happy. If it brings that wage bill down, that's what. Like, if Cody goes to Rangers, great. That's 70 odd grand off the wage bill. If Bass leaves, who's going to come in for Wout Fass? Oh God.
And Nelson.
Yeah, but like if Bass leaves,
or Koulibaly could play.
I meant club wise, like who's going to come in to sign him more than anything.
Turkish clubs are interested in him.
Oh, I thought you meant replace him.
That's good. Yeah, get him to Turkey. That'd be okay. To be fair, he can get his teeth whitened at the same time whilst he's out there. But if we can get rid of 3 or 4 or 5 of the higher earners like Samare, Fass, Cody, Christensen, maybe he's not the highest earner, but he'll bring money in. And then we can then back Danny Rohl in the transfer window because we still have a budget to spend, even if we don't get a transfer embargo. We will have money to spend. We are a Premier League club. In regards to commercial side of things, we're not a Championship club, and our squad is good enough to get up. So if we can back him in the transfer market, I'm still confident. Even if we get a 12-point deduction, I still think we can go up.
Playoffs.
Yeah. Or even automatic, because it's a terrible league. Like,
it was last year when I talked to Leeds fans, they said it was crap last year.
Yeah, and it's not going to get much better because the divide between the Premier League and the Championship is so large.
It is.
Even a terribly run club can strike it lucky and still, bounce. I think first and second Ipswich and Southampton, but playoffs and go from there.
Yeah. Reece. When I was talking to the Wednesday Week podcast yesterday, they mentioned about the youth. He did bring a couple of players through at Sheffield Wednesday, not as many as he wanted because there wasn't really much to pick from. But you look at Leicester as their squad this season: Jeremy Monga, Ben Nelson, Jake Evans, Aluko's going to be coming through as well. Michael Golding's still young. Stalasic, he's still early 20s, isn't he? So he's still a young player, still learning. McAteer come through the academy as well. Done well in the Championship last time we had him in there, par that injury. But what do you make of that? Do you think Danny Rohl could very much work well with the youth? Before I ask Steve the same question.
Yeah, I think he'll feel like he's hit the jackpot because we've got some unbelievable, I'm going to say unbelievable talents coming through. The Mongas, the Jake Evans, Stalacic, talented goalkeeper. Ben Nelson, talented left centre back. So I feel like he'll lean to, and that's another reason why I'd pick him. With Sean Dyche, he will pick the more experienced players like Winks, Ayew, Decordova-Reid. Whereas this guy, this guy will think, right, I'm going to get all these youth playing together, and then we can build, a dynasty here. So I think in terms of building the youth, I think I'd feel more comfortable with Danny Rohl in charge than I would with Sean Dyche.
Steve, like you said, all follow clubs and bring us good times and the lows. But if they have come into the end of the 30th of June and do no legwork, won't the fans be more pissed off?
I mean, yeah, but then let's be honest, how much more pissed off can we get in this situation? I think I was saying this to a friend the other day, like, if you're looking at the bottom of the barrel, currently Leicester are scraping underneath that barrel to see if there's any more space to go down. It's very difficult for us to get any more annoyed. And I think, as you see during the season, there is a split still in the fan base in regards to who thinks the club's being run okay, and there's a few mistakes and whatever, and they could be forgiven, and those that have been quite vocal online and in the stadium. To be fair, like, it has been quite sort of loud in the stadium the last sort of 10 games. I think that needs to change in the fan base, for sure. But I mean, hey, either way, it can't get any worse than it is at the moment. I guess if we get a 50-point deduction and we're sat bottom,
then we think about a bloody doing a load.
Yeah, exactly. Then yes, it probably would get worse. But I'm very hopeful going on to the youth sort of situation. I'm hopeful that we're bringing in a manager that will promote younger players and play those players. We have a good amount of players coming through, and the obvious ones, as I said, Monga, Nelson, Alves, Evans. But then there is Braybrook, who I don't think has been given a fair shot on loan recently. He might not be good enough. He's at an age now where at this point, you shit or get off the pot sort of situation. You're either going to make it as a professional footballer in Championship higher, or you'll go down to League One, League Two, and have a sort of a respectful career, but maybe not, the highs that you were predicted to be in. But then, we do have a lot of good young players anyway. I don't know if Brendan Cover is going to sign the new contract or not. I don't know if he's left. But he's a decent right back, isn't he? That that can come in. And then it's like Henry Cartwright and people like that. So I'd be happy with a mix, and I think Roll would actually, I think what's more important, the club will talk to the people that have applied for the job, and then if it is Roll who then puts forward a case of being like, I will look to promote young players, then he'll get it. I think if Dyche said that as well, he might get the job, because Top can be swayed either way. Let's be honest, he's not. If Rooking can convince him to appoint Steve Cooper when he didn't want him, then it's an awkward situation. But I think we will see a lot more younger players in the squad next year, and good, because I'm sick of relying on 15, 20, 25 million pound players that have come into the club in the last 10 years and just not proved anything. We've wasted so much money on Slimani, Musa, Samare. Okay, had a couple of good games this season, but still, he's been a waste of money. Loads of players that have come in. Daka, 24 goals in 100 odd games, when 4 of them were in fucking Moscow. Like, take the 4. That's
4 years.
Ridiculous.
4 years on
thanks,
this.
Thanks for that, Jack. I was feeling all right this morning until I saw that.
23 million pounds we spent on him, by the way. Let's get it out there. 23 million. And then 4 goals away likely at first.
Yeah. Like, you give away big contracts to players. I think the club need to stop. They need to put their own sort of salary cap in place.
Wage strategy.
We won't pay more than sort of 40 to 50 grand at most. And then there is appearance fees. And if you are working well and you're playing well, then there is growth in regards to what you can earn. But to give out contracts to like Vestergaard and Winks and Cody at sort of 60, 70, 80 grand a week, it's not working. And it's just keeping us in that hole where we can't progress.
Steve, Danny Rohl, what do you reckon? I mean, Leicester have reportedly held talks regarding his compensation package for him with Sheffield Wednesday. Danny Rohl's exit looks very much close, that he will be leaving whenever, from any point now, that he will be leaving Sheffield Wednesday. They've not said how he's leaving, but with the Mail sort of putting out what they put out today, it could be very much that he leaves due to a compensation package. What would be initial thoughts of Danny Rohl to Leicester?
Well, I've set my stall out, a year ago. When Enzo left, I was very much a case of, I'd like someone like Danny Rohl at the club. Obviously, with the PSR and the compensation at the time, it wasn't looking likely. But I'm a big advocate for him. I think I've watched quite a bit of Sheffield Wednesday last season and the year before, when he came. This season he came, didn't he? Who was the before? I can't remember who was it before. But anyway, I've seen quite a lot of Sheffield Wednesday.
Did you have Munoz before Danny Rohl?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
That's Cisco.
Darren Moore as well, didn't they? Before
Darren Moore, yeah.
Oh, we were linked with Darren Moore. I'd rather no, thank you. I was wanting to see. Let's be honest. But Danny Rohl, I think he would come in and he would do the job that you'd expect a younger manager that's more pragmatic, more data driven. A lot like Nigel Pearson when he came in. He was a lot more data driven than Ian Holloway and Gary Megson and whoever else we had, coming into the club before that. And that's the way the world is moving in regards to management. These older managers like Steve Bruce, Sean Dyche, those sort of, they stick to the one philosophy and that's it. They're very narrow-minded and they don't like to move away from it. Whereas you need a manager, which I thought was going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy, which turned out to be completely incorrect, would be more of a manager that came in and would assess the squad and change it up and work to the best of their abilities. And, if it wasn't working, change it up again. I think Rohl can do that. And I've been banging the drum for a while, so get him in. That's what I say.
Fantastic. Hopefully we can hear that drum down Filbert Way, in the first game of the season.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
Reese, John talks about Rohl, worked well at Sheffield Wednesday because he had Pedersen alongside of him. He's obviously had Chris Powell, who's obviously played for Leicester, coached under Nigel Pearson. A lot of players credit Pedersen with the attacking style of the play and work on the training field. And Rohl was more with defensive as well. I think Rohl's adaptability to the game will help him, especially if he's promised players and don't get them. He will just do well with what he's got. Dyche not been in the league for 10 years. I mean, that's a long while. Turn Shea Charles into a different player for my team, Southampton, proven with young players. What's your initial thoughts on all that?
Well, you mentioned about the assistant manager they had alongside him. I can't remember his name, but that's it. Yeah, but I'll also counter and say, well, he could bring Chris Powell with him, and then we're going to have. And that's another reason why I'd bring him here as well, because the core of his backroom staff will be obviously himself, Chris Powell, who knows the club, and I'm pretty certain he would keep Andy King as well. So he's got a good mixture of things there, So he's got his own ideas, and then he can use Chris Powell and Andy King to employ the DNA of Leicester City. So I think it's a good mix of backroom stuff that he's got. But yeah, on the young players, like that Charles player, he turned him into an absolute beast from. So I'm pretty confident. I don't think we'll get top two. Because of the points deduction, but. I don't care what anyone says. I would back us in the playoffs. I would back us to get maybe third or fourth, and we'll go up through the playoffs. Because like Elm just said there, it's a poor league. But the problem is with the young players, it's a very tough league. You will get battered. You will get tackled hard. So they are going to have to get beefed up a bit, these young players. But I back their natural ability and their technical ability to overcome. Because of football nowadays, it's more about technical ability and what you do with the ball rather than just being a big brute. So I would back the young players to use their ability rather than their strength and their conditioning to overcome the challenges in the league.
Steve, Leicester's players currently, who do you think Danny Rohl would be effective with the most if you had to look at Leicester's squad currently?
Well, the one that's sort of stands out for me is Fatu. Obviously, he's missed a lot of last season after the injury, but I think he can push him on, and I'm not sure who's going to be left over come first game of the season in regards to who he's going to play. It could be a case that quite a lot of the squad wants to leave, so it depends on who he can convince to stay around. But I'd like to think that he'd push on the younger players, like Nelson, make a decent defender out of him, Fatu. I'm trying to think of players that I'd be excited to see carry on playing for us, to be honest. There isn't a big list, is there?
I would love to see because I personally think I don't think El Kanous is going anywhere. Me personally, I don't think any clubs are going to come in for him. I would love to see El Kanous implement to a number 8 because he can turn out of pressure really well, and I think that would work brilliantly in Danny Rohl's system rather than a 10. And you can put Will Alves a bit further up the pitch. And you can get both of them in the team. So I think them paired together would be absolute dynamite. With Bilal just sat a bit deeper and Will Alves pushed on a bit more. That's what I would like to see personally.
Oh, I tell you what, that gets me excited, Like, honestly, just then I was like, oh, I felt a little tingling. So it might be the heat, to be honest, but I'm a little bit tingly,
Roll won't believe what some of our players have paid, I'd imagine. Well, they're not paid that at Sheffield Wednesday. I'd bloody believe that. I spoke to Sheffield Wednesday yesterday about the wages and what's happening. They're not been paid for 2 months, which he sounds very absurd. Chantier, he's got no money, according to him. He doesn't know what's what. But looking at the situation, Steve, at Sheffield Wednesday to Leicester's, how do you sort of look at them in comparison of what he can have and what he hasn't got at Wednesday?
Well, I think the biggest one is the fact that our training ground is still the best in the UK by a long way. And there is I know that people say you're going from from the frying pan into the fire sort of situation in regards to how the clubs are run. But the big difference in the ownership is the fact that Chansiri wants to sell the club. He's not interested anymore. He's not pumping money into the club. Top, I think Top has a, because of obviously with the dad situation with him passing away outside the stadium, he still has that deep connection to the club. And I don't think he's going to cut off the funding to the club. Look at 6 months ago when he cleared all that the debt into shares and stuff. So he's still pumping money into the club. And there are a lot of fans that are calling for him to go, and I'm a bit on the fence in regards to King Power selling. So I think there's still a lot of improvement to do, but I think he can make those improvements himself. So I would say jumping from Sheffield Wednesday with players not being paid on time, the training ground still in development, having no money to spend, transfer embargo to, let's be honest, a Premier League club, because we were still at the 14th highest wage bill in the Premier League last season. We will be the highest wage bill in the Championship again this season. There is money. We are a bigger club than Sheffield Wednesday. And even I would say that if you take off the shit show that we've had in the last 18 months where people have started to realise it in the media, if you put back as 18 months or the first time we got relegated, there was no manager available that wouldn't take on the Leicester job. Let's be honest. If they're offered the job that wasn't already in a top job in the Premier League or the top jobs around most of Europe, a lot of managers would have still come and taken the job, and there will be managers that are falling over themselves for this job now, even though we're portrayed, which is the case, that we are a poorly run club. But it only takes 3 or 4 decisions to go the right way for us to then flip that and be a well-run club again. We talk about Rudkin and getting rid of him. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's be honest. He's too loyal to him at this point. So, we can chant about him as much as we want, and I don't want him at the club, but you've got to accept that he's going to be there. So at that point, you say, okay, well, if he gets this window correct and he gets January window correct if we sign anybody, and if we do go up and we stay up, a lot of the previous shit will most likely have been forgiven in a sense. And then you push on from there. So, there's a significant difference, going back to your original point of Sheffield Wednesday to Leicester. We are both currently poorly run, but one is in a much better situation than the other, even with the points deduction. Even if we don't sell anybody and we can't sign anybody, this squad is still better than, I would say, everyone apart from maybe one, which is Ipswich, who have built, they've bought well for the Championship. They knew that they were going to go down again, and the players they've bought are all good players that can produce.
Me with Top, is, I've said it a long time, he needs support. He needs a proper help. He needs to sit there, stop being stubborn and say, I need that help. I need that support. He needs a proper football advisor to come in, someone who knows how football works and has technical forward, in helping him do that, develop it a lot more. Top's still got a lot to learn as an owner, of course he has. He hadn't got enough sort of learning in him in the time that his dad did pass. Do you know what I mean? He just took the club on. He needs more experience, a lot more to give. He's still got a lot more, I think, in him, but he needs the proper people around him to do that. But this is the issue. He needs to get everything right going forward. People say, but they'll forget everything when they get to the Premier League and if they stay there. But that's just papering over the cracks, and he's got to speak to the fans. He's got to say to the fans, I have tested and trialed things. I have got things wrong. This is how I'm going to go going forward and put things right. And this is what you want to see, a bit more stabilising from the owner, a bit more, hello, this is the plan going forward here, because Plymouth did it, didn't they? Plymouth, I think Cardiff said it as well in statements, and that's what you want to see from him, a bit more acknowledgement, a bit more accountability, and this is the way of going forward. I
do think a lot of the stuff would be forgiven if he just came out and said, look guys, I've made mistakes. I'm only human. I'm new to this. It's only my sort of 4th or 5th year in charge. I'm implementing more stuff going forward, and I'm going to be opening the communications properly with the fan groups and all of that. And the majority of fans will go, you know what, fair enough, you've admitted you've made a mistake, and we'll go on from there. And he'll get a lot more rope. And that's not a good way of saying it, because he might end up hanging himself anyway, let's be honest, because he could do really well and then still turn out to be shit. But if he can just implement some basic things, a lot of the fan base would be like, perfect, let's crack on, let's build this back to where it should be.
Salt talks about Ralph Ragnick, only earns £2 to £3 million a year at Austria. Salt seems to think it'd be a good idea.
Imagine if that happens. Imagine if we get him as an advisor, and especially with Danny Rohl, and he's come from that ilk, the Red Bull hierarchy. That's where Danny Rohl's come from. Imagine if we get him as an advisor. That'd be unbelievable.
So I was shaking my head in regards to thinking he's going to be the manager. I don't want him as the manager. I'm fine with the director of football. He's not the manager. Please, for God's sake. I saw him at United. He was awful.
Director of football, I think it could work, potentially. You look at Nigel Pearson, director of football. You'd have Esteban Cambiasso back in a fucking heartbeat at Leicester, because he's got very good football knowledge, and this is what you need. Someone who knows the club, someone who's very much open to everything in helping the club get better. Pearson would be fantastic at that, because he knows the club like the back of his hand. He's been here 2 times as manager, and he's got very good contacts. Cambiasso spent a year here, done well. He's got some fantastic contacts in Europe to help him along the way. So they're the sort of heads you need. Rudkin is stuck. He's not the ideal man for director of football. He has brought in some players though, hasn't he, along the way of Tillemans and Maddison, Ricardo. So you have to go give him his dues in that sort of sense. But Martin Glover, how much of a say does he have in things, Steve, do you reckon?
I don't think he has much of a say at all. I think by all accounts, what I understand is that they get together with the manager and they hash out some players positions that they want to improve, and then Glover goes back, has a word with the scouts, and they go looking at players, and then they put a list of players in front of the manager and director of football, and they work out which one is the best value, and then Rudkin goes to negotiate, pays 15 million more than he should do, and then we bring them in. So by all accounts, it is a case of he's just doing his job in regards to scouting players and putting through suggestions of those players that might come in. But it's down to Rudkin and the manager to make the final decision.
Bloody hell. That's going nowhere. That's a rejection straight away, Katie. But last word then, Steve. Is Danny Rohl the man for you, or is it the one that you've 100% put your eggs in one basket in?
Yes, 100%.
Explain why.
Well, because I think he's a young, pragmatic manager that's data-driven, that is willing to improve. And also, he's still older than me. Managers are getting to the point now where they're starting to become younger than me, and I don't like that. So he's a couple of years older than me, and that's fine. I can stick with that. That's okay. But yeah, mainly, I want somebody that can come in, bring back some of the excitement that we've not had for the last year or so. You know, Maresca was great, but my God, it was boring at times. Cooper was awful. Ruud van Nistelrooy was god awful. Like, my God. I just want a manager to come in and just bring a bit more positivity around the place. Let us score some goals. You know, I miss scoring goals and celebrating with my friends more than anything.
I agree. Reese, where's your head at? Is it Danny Rohl? Is it what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Danny Rohl for me. I think it'd be the closest thing in a way to Nigel Pearson's style of play. You know, you keep running, you press high. You know, you get as many men forward as you can. You get stuck in. You know, that's the sort of DNA football that I recognise Leicester City. You know, so I think he would be the closest thing to that. And it's an identity as well. You know, it's something like when Danny Rohl leaves, we can look for someone else of that ilk. You know, instead of going from possession-based football, Enzo Maresca, to part of the bus, Steve Cooper, and then we go to Ruud van Nistelrooy playing a mid-block. And, you know, we need an identity. We need someone to go, right, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the style of football. It's going to be aggressive, pragmatic, and we're going to push forward with this sort of system. So, and again, works well with young players. He'll promote, I think he'll get Monga and now Alves, Evans, all these players playing good football. He'll improve them a lot. I think, and also we might have a transfer embargo on our heads. So he can work with no money. And obviously he's got better players at his disposal as well. So I think he won't be too bothered that he hasn't got a lot of money to spend because he's got better players and he's worked in that situation before and he knows how to handle it. So I think all in all, he is the man for me. And it's £1 million. It's £1 million at the end of the day. Like, come on. And you're getting a potentially class coach.
Yeah, and I would say, Reece, you made a very good point in regards to if we are going to take him on, and you then create a shortlist, even if it's you change it every now and then, of a manager that can take over in case he gets poached by a different club or he gets sacked. Don't just, like we've been playing sort of hand to mouth at them in regards to like, oh, we went from one style to another to another to another. No, do like you did with when Puel got sacked and you knew that you wanted Rodgers for a while. Bring Rodgers in. You know, have a short list of 3 or 4 managers that, okay, if they get poached by bigger clubs, you then replace that manager on the list with somebody else. Have a continuity plan and make sure that there's a way to move forward and not just, you know, moving from one to another. It's just not going to work.
Well,
Brighton are the best. Jack. Brighton are the best example for that. You know, Potter, De Zerbi, now this guy. I can't remember. Is it Hertzler? Is it Hertzler or something?
Yeah.
And then you know it comes out as soon as they point the manager, they're already looking for the next one. That's what we need to do. We need to stick to that style and look for the next best thing in that sort of style.
Yeah, you know, Brentford. That the manager, Keith Andrews, came in as a set piece coach. Sorry, but they knew when they brought him in that he could be a replacement to the manager that they had in Frank. I can't remember, went to Spurs anyway. That we were after for a long time. You know, there is a plan in place, and they're the clubs that we should be looking at and going, have a plan in place.
Like Luke says, show the man the money, roll out the red carpet, and get the Bradverse at Seagrove. We can all enjoy a German sausage at any point this season, maybe under Danny Rohl, but probably come under a lot of calories and whatever. But I'm sure I want to. But now Danny Rohl's for me. I like him. He's one that I've eyed up for a bit. I've watched his style. I like a pragmatic manager, someone who knows what it's about. Plan A, Plan B. I think he's got everything about him that he can. I think he'd be the first German manager for Leicester City. So there's always a first time for everything. And I think he'd do well at Leicester if they can get him the resources and the tools, which I think we have got better resources at Leicester. The training ground, which is, I don't think it'd be an holiday camp under him. I think he'd want the hard work doing, get the yards, get the players into shape, go with his plan going forward, with how he wants it doing, how he wants to change it. I think all these players will get on board with it. There'll be a few out the door. Connor Cody will probably go to Rangers. It is what it is. 70 grand saving. Jamie Vardy, I think we're saving 140 grand today when he leaves the football club. Yep. Danny Ward's going to play number 2 at bloody Wrexham, even though he thought he was going to be a number 1 somewhere. But I think the wage structure is the main thing with Leicester. They've got to get everything right going forward. But like Steve says, bring on the Danny Cobb era and there we go. Let's see what Leicester City can do in the Championship. As Leicester hold Danny Rohl compensation talks, and let's see how this one develops this week. Will Danny Rohl be at the King Power come the start of the season as we take on Sheffield Wednesday in the first game? What's your thoughts on that one, Steve?
To be honest, if they're under a transfer embargo and they don't pay their players today, it could be men against boys. You know, if we don't come away with a 12-0 win, I'll be very disappointed. That's less likely to happen. I'll be honest, there's not many teams in the Championship that sort of fill me with any fear anyway. You know, and especially not a Sheffield Wednesday team that is going to be defeated as it is.
Sausage rolls a traitor.
but I will be there. I'll be looking for. I'm now an official season ticket holder at Leicester, which worst timing in the world to become one. Let's be honest. You know, I've been for the last pretty much every game for the last 3 years, and I'm officially a season ticket holder, and it's the worst period of our club. But it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. My wife didn't say I wasted any money. She said it's great. You come home depressed. It's okay. It's fine.
It's fantastic. Reece, any last words?
Just quickly going back to what we were saying about Danny Rohl. I want to see a manager that is jumping all over the touchline, you know, instead of folding their arms, you know, and just standing there with a bloody notebook. I want to see him jumping about, running up and down the touchline. I want to see some passion on the touchline. I don't know if he's that sort of manager, but it kind of gives me that. It kind of gives me that vibe. And also, the players are going to have to get in unbelievable shape because if they want to play this system, they've got to be extremely fit because there's going to be a lot of running going on in that system next season. But quickly on Sheffield Wednesday, but it's just absolute awful. I've heard Milan Mandrick is looking to take over there and save them or something from what I've read there.
I think he's trying to give Chanziri some advice, if I'm honest. He did sell the Chanziri for 35 million quid, by the way. He brought Sheffield Wednesday for £1 million, Milan Mandrick, when he brought Sheffield Wednesday. But it's one of them things. Football has its ups and downs, but yeah, Sheffield Wednesday should never be in this position with any owner, you know. Like I said, Barry's witnessed it, Reading. There's been a few
big club. A very big club.
It is a big history, it is. Someone said to me, how big are Leicester City in the Championship? I said, if you look at the latest last 10 years of the Championship, Leicester's the biggest side in there.
Yeah,
I'm watching Dhaka.
We've got the most. I think we've got the most promotions out of all the EFL clubs as well. 13 promotions, I believe.
I think Grimsby's got the. Is it Grimsby's got 4? No, I think Grimsby's got 15. Leicester, Doncaster, and Notts County. I think they've got 14 each.
Oh, yeah, right, it's the highest in the Championship.
So we can equal it in the EFL if we get 15 this season. It's fantastic. But, Steve, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Take it easy, Steve.
Oh, has he got something?
Sorry, I just said I'm off to the gym now, so I'm going to get even warmer.
Fantastic. You're going to
enjoy, mate.
That German sausage, Steve.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Right, Reece, that's it. Danny Rohl could be on his way to Leicester City. We'll see how this one unfolds. But no, thanks for coming on, Reece.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on, mate, as always.
That is it then. Could Danny Rohl be on his way to Filbert Way? As it looks very much like he is leaving Sheffield Wednesday, then that one looks to be close to being finalised. Leicester have reported to have held talks with Sheffield Wednesday regarding his compensation, which is £1 million. Will Leicester City pay that £1 million and bring Danny Rohl to the King Power Stadium as we take on Sheffield Wednesday, first game of the season, by the way? So Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate it. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you know you haven't subscribed already. Please get down and do so. If you're watching this on playback, let me know your thoughts of everything we've discussed during the show. Take care. Have a great rest of the day, whatever you're up to, and keep it at the final whistle. Goodbye.